Video number 2, welcome back. I got Nooch here. Today we're gonna go through explosive power movements with the medicine ball. If you don't have a large amount of equipment, which I know a lot of people don't, you can always use a med ball to increase your power production. Take it away, let's see what we got.
We'll go through 3 things. I'll give you a variation on the first one because the first one's a partner assisted. So first thing, I'm gonna have Phil in a split stance. He's gonna have his arms out in front of him. I'm gonna be on that box right there and I'm gonna down angle throw the med ball as hard as I can into his hands. And basically we're just trying to brace our core, find our hip level, what works well for him. If he falls over, he topples, he goes one way or the other, then we kind of know he's in a bad position with his hip level.
When you're looking to increase power production, you have to start through triphasic in a sense, right? So now we're working on yielding eccentrics into an isometric, right? And that'll give us the ability to produce power later on.
Don't go too heavy and throw a 30-pound med ball at somebody. I think 10 is your max, so don't get too crazy. I'm nice and tall. Phil's in his position where he's comfortable. I'm just gonna throw that guy down. He's gonna try and find that hip level as best as he can. Yeah, we'll go one more. That other variation, if you don't have a friend to throw this thing to you, we're gonna go bilateral stance. You can pick a side, doesn't really matter, but we're gonna drop down into that staggered sprinter stance, whatever's easier for you. Again, if you wanna pull it into your side like you're dropping the sword back into the holster, that's fine too. If you wanna get a little bit more out in front, that's gonna be a little bit harder, but really prep for that drop into the hip. So a little bit aggressive with the elbows too. They don't have to be closed off right at your sides because we're gonna do a lot more aggression with the elbows on the next drill.
Explain foot placement and like tension.
So we wanna be loaded up onto that front side. So bilateral into, I call it more of like a sprinter stance here because we could take off into a linear acceleration from this if we wanted to. Front side's planted, look up the chain, load it off that side, real light on the other side too. So sprinter stance, not off the backside heel, front side, planted nice and firmly into the turf. Second one we're gonna go through, so we're layering these. So just be conscious of the fact that we're like painting a picture here with these movements. So you can actually break these down into 3 and do them one by one. So second thing we'll do is think a bit more of a chop down into a lateral push. So think about the position we just dropped down into, throwing that med ball. So we're starting here, sprinter stance again. We're gonna cut down, hip, aggressive with our upper half, push into that other side. So I want the elbows a little bit flared out on this, aggressive with my upper half, not too much of a forward lean because I don't want the shoulders to tilt. My center of mass is right where it needs to be, right in the middle of my feet when I land. Good, so that's very important, making sure. It's also a good assessment if you have a newer athlete in and you want to work this in, so they can kind of see, you can see if they're dumping the shoulders, dumping the hips. This gives you a chance. Again, working a little bit over speed on this guy. I'm gonna chop and push. So I'm gonna stay behind you. Don't hit my hand. See the difference in that?
Yeah, I'm more balanced. Yeah. Just a little. You know what you're talking about.
Sometimes. Don't hit me.
That feels a lot better though. Like it just.
Yeah. Because what you're doing when you drop into it, you're getting here.
Yeah, I'm getting overly rotated. Yeah. Then I gotta redirect it more. I get what you're saying.
Yeah. Another thing I'll do with some people. So drop down to that first position, and then I'll get in kind of and just hold them there, and then I'll just 3, 2, 1, let them go, and kick out of there. Yeah. So you can feel that.
Yeah, like.
Third one, we're gonna flow a little bit down the turf now. So we're adding a little bit of a reactive step in between. And it's a great test to see where your athletes are at from a spatial awareness perspective. Basically, we're doing what we already went through a little bit. We'll chop down the first one. The only time we're gonna chop down, so we'll get here, we'll push, we'll add that little mini bounce in, and we'll catch it there. And then we'll continue that pattern down the turf. So it'll look a little bit like this. A couple things you wanna look for. You wanna make sure your athlete, when they come off of that mini bounce, they're not jumping back, losing ground. So we want to make sure as soon as they drop into that, boom, they're loaded there. They don't need to do any of this. They go to the next step. Don't lose ground. The biggest thing I see is athletes will come down into that on that first push. They'll push and then they'll try to get more. You're not getting more out of that. Yeah. You're already dropping down into a loaded position. Continue down the turf. Still being aggressive with our upper half. Move as fast as you can. So just drop down, kind of, boom, and push. Boom. Yep. 2 to 1. Yep. Give me that little bit of a balance in between. So when you come down to this, boom. That's the only thing you're missing. Pop, boom. Yeah. Yep. Pop, boom. Yep. Yep. Jackie! Boom!
Appropriate sessions there. Got it.
And this is another reason why I like the med ball too, because you can kind of just keep the center of mass stable, right? So it just stays there, and then they're like, oh shit, I got this med ball in my hand. Now I can move this way.
Down. Boom. 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 Oh shit.
You're okay. Push. Yep. Push. Yep. There you go.
Yeah, there we go. Shit. That's better.
That's it. A lot better.
I got it. My inner athlete came out nowhere. All right, let's finish it off now. Sets, reps, where should we put it at in our program, all of that?
I think it's great. So if this was a whole workout, we could kind of prep with this movement, right? So we could do 2 or 3 sets of this, depending on what you're trying to get out of the central nervous system or the prep throughout the day. 2 sets, we'll say. First drop down, 5 on each side. So that is dropping down into that split position. If you have the friend, cool, 5 tosses, switch, 5 tosses on the catches. If you don't, again, same thing. Do it on your own, 5 and 5. On the lateral chop to push, 3 and 3, aggressive, as fast as possible with intent. And then on the pushes, if you have 10, 15 yards, you're gonna do 1 set each side, pushing down.
I like it.
Rest.
So if this was my condensed conjugate or even conjugate, we would do this in our dynamic effort day, or if this was a dynamic lower, we could do it with that too as well.
Absolutely.
Medicine balls are super versatile. So like, even if you want to do full body, it's similar to a full body movement, because then you can redirect and throw, so on and so forth.
Well, I think the best thing about this too is, like, even if you don't have a med ball, hopefully you have a med ball. You don't need one. Right? You can still move your body in a way. Where you're positioning yourself to move with intent. Again, I always like to coach the elbows a little bit aggressive because it adds a little bit more energy and transfer. So if you don't have it,
if you had like a kettlebell too,
that's it.
Or a dumbbell even, 5 pound, 2 pound, whatever. Yeah, it'd be dope. One more time, where can they find you on Instagram?
It's Nooch_13. It's NOOCH_13. Yeah, come check it out. Appreciate you for having me out, man.
Of course, man. So check it out. We got the podcast too as well. So go to the podcast channel, Daru Strong Podcast, and check out my man. We're gonna go over his origin story on how he got started into training himself and world-class athletes. Make sure you subscribe, hit the notification, hit the like button. I'll see you again next time. You hit the.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you if I
go ahead.